too look really nice.
Okay,
I'm gonna start with the light on, but if you feel like you're squinting, is that too much light for you? How about you, Paul?
I'm okay.
Okay, it does make a difference, believe it or not. Okay.
do you want to get their voice, check their voice?
No, because we're not using that mic.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah. Okay. I think start just some general comments on your giving, and who would you say first influenced you, or what caused you to become interested in charitable activities and pursuits?
I think my first involvement in charity was working for a company in Hartford that promoted volunteerism, and that was back in 1958, and I got involved with volunteering for the programs that they promoted, and have been doing stuff like that ever since.
Tell us more about that. What kind of volunteering?
Well, the one that sticks in my mind the most was cleaning up and getting Camp Jewel up in Coldbrook ready for the campers in the summer, and they were changing their canoes around to get away from the old wood canvas canoes and going to the aluminum canoe. And I bought a canoe from them for $100 and still have it. And it was a great experience, and we did that for several years up there. So.
Pat, how about you?
I think probably having 5 children, that you get involved as a volunteer. You know, you're a room mother, you do this at school, you're a Girl Scout leader. You know, I got started that way, and my volunteering just grew and grew and grew over the years. But I think if we go back, it's probably through our kids, and it was very rewarding. It was lots of fun.
Do you, if you think about what program or causes that you were involved, Paul, how about you? When you first started, you talked about the Y Camp, but what other activities?
Well, through the years, we've been involved with many different organizations, volunteering for whatever needed to be done. We've collected furniture for the less fortunate and distributed in the Hartford area for about 23 years. And through that, we got affiliated with other nonprofit organizations that we've been able to help through the years.
Pat, how about you?
Probably I go back a little bit further than that. I mean, I was a volunteer of the Red Cross, and then a friend of, and several other local things here in town. Then a friend of mine, who is now gone, Jody Miser, started the Farmington AIDS Task Force to bring awareness of AIDS in the early 80s to the Farmington Valley, because I was a hospice volunteer at the time, and we were told that it was not a city disease. Everybody, everywhere was going to be affected by AIDS. So my volunteerism really blossomed from there. I became very, very involved with Hispanic Health Council, Latinos Contra SIDA, AIDS Project Hartford, Family Life Education, and I was a volunteer for pediatric AIDS for 18 years. The clinic started at UConn, and then it moved to Hartford Hospital, and then to the Children's Hospital. And luckily now, if Mom signs the waiver, and we'll have AZT administered to her while she's pregnant, babies pretty much are born without the HIV virus. But back then, it was every baby just about was born HIV. And we became very, very involved in the Hispanic community, and we loved them and deeply loved by them. And as Paul said, we collected everything that you could think of that you didn't want, but it had to be in good condition for 23 years. And there's probably not a street in Hartford that we haven't delivered on. I used to drive his pickup truck, and I used to look like a gypsy going down 84. And he'd load the truck up at night, and I would arrive at Latinos Contra SIDA or Hispanic Health Council. We still collect baby furniture and baby items and books, but we've kind of gotten out of the furniture moving business. We used to lift refrigerators and stoves, and can't do that anymore.
That's remarkable.
Your interest in the Latino community is just very interesting, and you indicated a number of the agencies that are Latino oriented or actually Latino organizations. How is it that I know that AIDS has been a problem for a lot of everyone of any descent, and how is it that you became interested in working with the Latino community specifically?
I don't know. I know that when we started this Farmington AIDS task force, I was a volunteer at the time, as I said, in pediatric AIDS, and everybody said, Pat, you're doing volunteer work with them. What do they need? And I said, they need diapers, formula, and baby food. And so we just put out the word, and it was just amazing what we got. And I would take it up to UConn to the clinic, and it was kind of a reward for mothers to bring their babies in. And my job lots of times was taking that 6-week-old baby up to have blood drawn, which was not very pleasant because moms didn't want to do that. And I was so accepted after a while and so loved that love just continued to grow. And we're so connected with Hispanic Health Council. Do I speak Spanish? No. Do I understand a little bit of it? No. But Paul and I have had such incredible experiences over the years. It's where God has taken us. That I did a AIDS healing service across from Capital Community College in the church, I can't remember, with our daughter, and I will call her our daughter, who was a drug addict, lesbian, who had murdered someone in Puerto Rico. And we stood on that altar with our arms around each other, and I said, God brought us together. And she willed us her body, excuse me, she willed us her body when she died. And her little boy was our grandson, really, Alan, and he's gone now. And our love just continued to grow and be fed and nurtured, and we just love the Hispanic community. So it's been a benefit and a joy to my life and Paul's life. He kind of came in after he retired 21 years ago.
Sounds like you've gotten back as much as you've given in some ways.
More so, I think.
More so.
Do you want to add to that, Paul?
Yeah, the Hispanic community's been a big part of our interests in volunteering, but we've also done a lot of other volunteering in the city of Hartford for non-Latino people, and I can remember one time delivering furniture to Bellevue Square in Hartford before it was remodeled, and at that time it was not a place for young white man to be seen around. unfortunately, but that's the way it was. And one Saturday morning, I delivered a load of furniture and household supplies to this woman on the third floor and one of the buildings there. And it was really a heartwarming experience for me. After we delivered all the stuff up to the third floor, she invited me in for a cup of coffee and to talk, and she invited her downstairs neighbor up to meet me and say thank you for all the good things that we had done for her. And I still remember that day. And my wife was very upset because I was gone for probably 4 hours in a neighborhood that probably shouldn't have been in, but it didn't bother me at that point. But it was a great experience. And as the years have gone by, we've been involved with other organizations in Hartford too to help them out. And philanthropy in our mind is not just giving monetary donations, it's giving of yourselves to help others in need. So that's what we've kind of done through the years.
Great.
In that sense, you've given millions. It sounds like.
Well,
I mean, you really have.
a lot of sweat equity.
And it's a privilege. It's a privilege. We're able to do it, so we should be doing it.
Yeah.
It's a privilege to do it.
And we've met so many wonderful people in all our ventures. It's just, that's made it well worth the efforts.
As you think about what are the most important needs and issues within the greater Hartford community that you feel needs support and help, and that you've actually caused to have done help them with?
I think three of the things that would come to my mind right away are education, housing, and jobs. We all know that. That's any place. But
Can I stop you for a second, Pat? Can you restart that and just say, I mean, it sounds like you're saying that 3 areas that we feel important about or that we feel strongly about are, just to rephrase,
Rephrase
his
the
question so I can hear you.
I think three things that are a focal issue with us and a strong issue with us are housing, education, and jobs. I mean, that's I think any place, not just Hartford. And, you know, we hear that all the time. We read it in the news all the time. And education is, and there's so many bright young people out there. It doesn't make any difference what color you are, but the Hispanic community, they need a lot of support. And the Black community, which we've been involved in. There's so much that they have to offer their community, especially with their own people.
You talked about some of the causes that you give volunteer help with, and do you think that enough people are active, giving of themselves as you were talking about, and what kinds of things could we do or could be done to encourage or to improve the help that's being given?
I don't think that, well, I know for a fact a lot of our friends would never go where we've gone. And I don't know how you can change their attitudes or ways of thinking to get involved in these organizations that we're involved with. I don't know how you motivate them to do it, but it would be great if everybody could give a little bit of their time and effort and maybe money, but I think involving yourself personally in doing the things that we do has made a world of difference in our lives.
Yeah, I wonder if you can expand on that a little bit more, because I'm sitting here listening to you, thinking, you're really what you did was highly unusual. I mean, by most people would say that you reached out to a population that is, back in the 80s, was certainly a population that folks wanted to keep their distance from. And I imagine that your friends and your kids had a reaction to that. What was some of that reaction?
I know that a lot of my friends, good friends, they will not go to Hartford. They will not go to Hartford. I think the press does a pretty good job on putting all the bad stuff out there. They don't take time to talk about the beautiful abuela, which is the grandmother, on Broad Street, that there are 18 people living in the apartment, and she said to our friend Maria Serrano after we delivered a load of furniture in Spanish, "Why are they here? Why are they doing this for us?" And in Spanish, Maria said, "Because they love us and they're our friends." And then she, in Spanish, told her, probably a daughter-in-law, and Liana's heard this story, to get a banana. That was all she had to give us. And you have to eat that banana, even if it's 95 degrees and you're standing there on Broad Street, just down a little away from Park Street, sweltering. You have to eat that banana. You have to say, you are the same in God's eyes as I am. And I don't wear my religion on my sleeve, but I'm sure that that's where the direction for a lot of the things that we do has come from. And going down to Clark Street in Hartford, and Barber Street. There's a restaurant on Barber Street I want to take my girlfriends to. There is no way that I am going to get them there. And
the best fried chicken.
The best, and collards. The House of Bread. We've been connected with them for 30 years. Catholic Worker. Nobody wants to go in those neighborhoods, you know, and I always just think, after I've given a handout to somebody and I've had a couple incredible experiences, that could be one of my children, because they were both young people. And I took a retreat one time, and Father Ed McLean said, don't give them a handout, invite them in. And one day I went and I got a cup of coffee and a muffin for a young man who was begging at the cheese and stuff door, and I came out and he was gone. And I thought, oh my God, I said, God, where is he? And I searched that parking lot till I found him. And I will never forget that day. I will never, ever forget that day. You have to say to yourself, you know, this is what I'm going to do. I am fine. Nobody is going to hurt me. But a lot of people, they just won't go to Hartford because it gets such bad publicity.
Well, that's similar to that story I told earlier about the woman inviting me in for coffee and bringing her neighbors up, and I was basically part of their family, and they kind of became part of my family, or myself. So, but
there's a lot of fear out there, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah, it's well, a lot of it's justified too, but beyond that, there's so many wonderful people behind the violence and everything you hear about.
How have you encouraged your children, grandchildren, and others to become active in charitable activities?
I think our children, you had to encourage them. We set the example, and they're all working, so they can't do everything that we did, but they didn't have to be encouraged.
they would always jump in and help when help was needed, and they still do.
In what ways? Can you expand on that a little bit? I'm going to move the camera just a little bit closer because I'm afraid the rain's getting so loud. I'm afraid I'll get raindrops on my sound. Go ahead.
Could you rephrase that? Or?
Sure. I mean, you started to talk a little bit about what how your kids have been active and helped you out as well. Can you tell a story about that, or is there something that comes to mind?
Well, right now we're involved with the Winter Special Olympics Games, and years ago, when one of the events was the snowshoeing and cross-country skiing event was being held at Avon Old Farm School, and we were using natural snow and making the courses, and the weather got so warm you could just watch the snow disappear in front of our eyes. And at the time our youngest son was going to Avon Old Farms, and he called our son, another son, say, the snow is disappearing faster than you can believe. And so myself and our sons got together and hauled snow in from
parking lots
and from the shavings from the Avon Old Farms ice rink, and we were able to get enough snow together to have the event held. And that's when it all started with the Special Olympics.
And Eunice Shriver called the school the following Monday, because it had gotten all the way back to Washington that the Winter Special Olympics were saved by John Patrick Robotham and his family. So
we're still doing it. Not so much JP, but Mark is still heavily involved, and I am in the snowmaking, and it's really expanded into quite an operation.
It's a great story.
And
it's a great story.
That's coming up next weekend, and hopefully the rain will hold off long enough and leave us enough snow so we can hold the event.
Well, we know who to call if they need snow now.
Yeah.
They make the snow. They've been making snow for what, a month?
Yeah.
So they have been actually learned from you and have taken up the activity and to carry it out themselves.
Yes, it's been a family affair in a lot of cases, and that's what family should be about too. It's working together and making things happen.
Our daughter Lisa is a teacher in Hartford, and she goes a special ed, severe and profound. And she goes above and beyond that. She's always involved in some kind of cause that she can get started in school. So she's and her kids are following right in their grandparents' footsteps.
That's great. In thinking about the future, I know that you have provided a future gift to the foundation, and I just wondered, do you have a specific goal in mind of what that will do? What you hope that what it would accomplish?
And if you could just start out by saying, in terms of our future gift, so we can get the rest of that thought.
In terms of our future gift, when we first did this, our financial planner had talked to us. And because I think of our involvement in so many organizations in Hartford that benefited by grants, gifts from the Hartford Foundation, we knew your history, we knew what they did, the Hartford Foundation did, and I don't think we would have ever considered any other foundation. and I think our first statement was, she's retired, Sandra Wood came here, and we sat with our financial planner and her, and she asked us to write down something, and I think we said, and you'd have to look it up, but it had pretty much in the lines of to help women and children to better their lives. And I think maybe someday we'll change it to families, but it's usually women and children, because so many of the families in Hartford are single parent households, and help them in some way to make their life a little bit better, maybe have their children get an education. And I think that we just knew what the Hartford Foundation did for so many of all these organizations that we were involved in there.
As you stated earlier on, that one of the focuses we think is important is education, and that's one of the main focuses of our giving, is to help promote education, because without education you're not going to go anywhere.
You said it. Go ahead, Dick. Okay. I'm just shifting a bit, just get a different angle. Go ahead.
You mentioned that you had gotten involved with the foundation. I just wondered, how did you happen to hear about us? And was this through contact with Sandy, or was this?
Well, we knew about the organization prior to becoming involved with it, and when our financial planner was talking to us about doing something different with our finances to increase our income, and also when we're gone to benefit the Hartford Foundation. And so we made those plans, and so far that's the way it's going to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, the investments aren't what they were when we started, but hopefully there'll be some left after we're gone.
I imagine there will be.
The other thing I was going to ask about was the Giving Circle, and you folks became involved in the LEF Latino Endowment Fund in 2009, and I wondered how that experience has been, and how whether that is a different kind of activity, charitable activity for you.
We have very good friends, Walter and Edith Nieves Cross, and Sydney and Elva Schulman, and they were, I think, founding members, or I know Edith was, and I don't know whether they talked about it, and I don't really know exactly whether it was them, it was Edith, or it was something in one of your newsletters, something, and I thought, this is a perfect fit. This is a perfect pair of gloves for us to be part of a community that we love so much. And it's not a big commitment every year, but it is growing, and hopefully it will just continue to grow. And coming to the programs that the Latino Endowment Fund has had have been so informative, and we've met such nice people. So it was just a perfect fit for us to give a little bit more money.
And I think that the Latino Foundation is on the same page as we are as far as promoting education for their people, and that kind of fits with what our thinking was from the get-go.
Now the the fund makes several grants every year, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Has there been a favorite grant of yours that you've followed to see how that has worked out?
No. No.
Okay. Next question. Oh, is there any other questions?
No. Leon? Did you, Leon?
Yeah, I'm reading the questions to think, to see if there's anything.
I have one. Oh, I have one when you're done.
No, go ahead.
I'm just curious. We haven't heard about your work history, and sometimes when where people work and working, you were working raising 5 kids. I'm just curious. Sometimes one.
Thank you for saying that.
Oh, I'm one of. I have a big family. I have a big family. I know what my mom worked a lot harder than my father.
I never filled out an application where it says occupation. I always put wife, mother, and grandmother.
Yeah. But my question.
Wasn't a housewife.
Oh gosh, no. But I'm curious. I mean, sometimes people get their inspiration to volunteer or to give through some of their work interests too. Have those overlapped for you, or are they really two completely separate things?
Well, like I said earlier about the company I work for, I don't know, can I mention the name?
Oh yeah, sure.
Well, it started as Hartford Electric Light when I started, and that's since developed into Northeast Utilities, and that's where I retired from. And their corporate goals are to get people involved in the communities in which they live, and that's how I really got involved in doing what I do, or what we do.
Through your work
through
got you going.
He
Work, yeah.
He was awarded Volunteer of the Year twice in monetary awards, and he gave them all to Latino and
AIDS Project Hartford.
AIDS Project, no, Latinos con Facita.
Do you want to just state that sentence again, just because you stumbled a little bit?
Paul received 2 Volunteer of the Year awards, and they were fairly good size monetary donations, and he gave them to Latinos endowment. Why do I keep saying
That's okay.
that?
Take
That's
3.
all.
Take 3. That's okay.
I would cut that out.
Only because it's a great thing to be Volunteer of the Year. So I want to make sure we capture that.
He received 2 beautiful awards, monetary awards.
Say his name too when you start.
Oh, Paul received 2 financial awards from Northeast Utilities. One, I think, was $500. One was $2,500, and he gave them. Oh no, I can't even think of. I don't know if he gave the AIDS Project Hartford or Latinos Contra Cita.
Maybe one each.
One each, and so he gave the money to charities that we had been involved with, which was really nice.
Yeah, and I also got a privileged parking spot at the company, so nobody could park in my spot. It was right next to the door.
Well, there's benefits.
See, there are benefits.
Be a volunteer, get a good spot.
Yeah, so that one though you couldn't give away.
No, I still have one.
That's right. That's
Parking
right.
sign up in the barn.
Oh. And I think our volunteerism has changed. I mean, we've been talking about all the things that we've done in Hartford. We're very involved in our community, and with Food Share, and we drive for services for the elderly. I'm on the board of services for the elderly. We involved in different things here in town over the years, and I think that's important that we give a lot of ourselves to Hartford, but we also give a lot of ourselves to our town, and have over the years.
I'm tired just listening to you.
Yeah.
I'm just in awe.
I know. I'm like blown away.
One thing just as you think ahead, would you like to have people remember your lives relative to your activities with the charitable ways?
That we did what we were supposed to do. That's the way I feel. That we did what we were supposed to do by giving of ourselves and a little bit of money that we have given over the years to different organizations, and a nice chunk to the Hartford Foundation. It's not been a burden. It's been a pleasure to be able to do that. And I think if you can, no matter what, whether it's $10 or it's $10,000, somewhere it makes a difference. And hopefully ours will make a difference someday.
And we are not super rich financially, but we have way more stuff than we need.
Mm-hmm.
And what we've done to disperse some of that wealth, if you can call it that, is through our actions. And I think a lot of people have a whole lot more stuff than they really need, and could maybe share that with people that are less fortunate.
So true, so true. Is there anything else you would want to add that maybe we didn't touch on, that you'd want to?
I know it said, Carol, that as you notice over here, and we took out some things that over the years have been awarded us, and there's a lot of plaques around, and these are very special to us. The boy we send to school in Haiti, the girl we've supported in Bogota, Colombia for years, enabled her to get an education. She's now in job training. She wants to go into criminal justice. And the $30 a month has made a difference in her life. Him going to school, he's in 9th grade now in Haiti, and we know what that's like in Haiti from the television and the news. We've been there. That little bit of money is going to change his life, and we have made our children guarantee us, because he's very bright, that he will go to college, but he has to promise that he will stay in his country. That's philanthropy in a different way. The Heifer Project, that ship over there, I received, and I had my aunt died, and about 5 years ago, and I knew I was going to get a nice chunk of money from her. The first thing I promised myself is I was going to buy an ark from the Heifer Project, which is one of our favorite charities. And it's just, those are the things, other than, what we've talked about, are very important to us. And there's a film there that was done years ago by CPTV, Mommy Who'll Take Care of Me. And Paul and I are featured in there, and it's about our involvement in the AIDS community and who is going to take care of me after my mom or my dad die. And when I talked about before, our granddaughter being in Melbourne, Australia, and things going on Facebook. One night the phone rang, and it was Manuel Magaz, who at the time was director of Latinos Contra SIDA. And he was in Florida, and he turned on the news, and he said, I was in the kitchen, and I heard your voice, and I turned around, and it was the film being shown on television. So, that's very special to us. I haven't watched it in a long time. We're a lot younger, but those are the things that are very, very, very special, I think, in our lives.
And we didn't do all the stuff that we've done for the awards and the whatever else, the plaques, and we did it because it's something that we in our hearts wanted to do. And
Well, I'm glad you got recognized. I think you deserve a much bigger award than that. Can I end with one question? I realized we didn't capture. I asked you off camera how long you've been married, and you mentioned, you told me, but it's very interesting to me that you volunteer as a couple through a lot of this. So many folks, sometimes it's one half of a couple or various combinations. So I was wondering, one last question is, can you talk about yourselves and what it has meant to you both doing this together? And perhaps one of you might lead with how long you've been married.
I'd like the opportunity to say that. I met Paul. We both grew up in West Hartford. Paul's family settled in Unionville in 1800. And when we met, I was in 7th grade. Paul was in 9th grade. We met playing softball in an empty lot, and I thought he was really, really cute. And he smoked a pipe in 9th grade. And we really liked each other, but he was very shy. And then we finally knew that we were in love, and we were married when I was 20 and he was 21, and he was in the service. And we lived with my parents in West Hartford for 3 months. And then we came looking for a house, and it just happened to be this house. And
in Unionville, where my father grew up.
Yeah. And we've been here ever since, and it will be 55 years in April, I think, that we bought this house. It didn't look like this. We didn't have any money. We just kept having kids. Can you add to that, sir?
I was shanghaied.
By the nuns I went to school, they loved him.
It's been a wonderful trip. Not all 100%, but it's been great. And it's like I told my son-in-law, it's not 50% for each other. It's 100% from each partner, and that's what it has to be. It can't be half and half. It's 100% from both parties.
I think you're doing something right. 55 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else, Pat? You were about to say something?
No, I just think back on the years and being here, and I mean, I knew no one in Unionville when we were first married, and I used to be so lonesome here because I didn't know anybody and I didn't have a car. Well, that's changed over the years, and the backyard always full of kids, a big garden, all those memories for this place. The house is too big, and we take care of it in the yard all ourselves. So they'll carry us out of here.
Well, thank you both. It's really an honor to hear your story.
It's so
Both-
wonderful.